Guest of Honor, Minister for Trade and Industries, Singapore, Mr. S. Iswaran. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning and welcome to the SIEW 2016 opening keynote address. I'm Ravi Nadesan, your host for the event. Now, many of you have traveled from far and wide to join us right here in Singapore. Before we begin the conference, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome one another. SIEW 2016 via your web browsers. Now, once you've logged on to the website, you should be brought to this page. As you can see on the screen right now, you'll see exactly this on your screens. Now, once you've logged in, you'll be able to select the session and thereafter to pose your questions. Okay, so this is the platform that we'll be using throughout the entire day. Again, we do invite you to engage with us right there, not to forget our platforms on social media as well. Now, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I take pride in inviting up on stage of guests of honor with his opening remarks right here at SIEW. Please welcome Minister for Trade and Industry of Singapore, Mr. S. Iswaran.
Distinguished guests, our visitors from overseas, members of the industry, friends and colleagues from various government agencies in Singapore. Ladies and gentlemen, very good morning to all of you. First, I want to extend a very warm welcome to all of you to the Singapore International Energy Week. It is now in its 9th year, and SIEW continues to be Asia's leading platform for top policy makers and energy practitioners to discuss global energy issues, exchange views, and to also forge closer cooperation as we address some of the challenges of the day. This year's theme, New Energy Realities, calls attention to the challenges posed and the opportunities created by significant shifts in the global energy landscape. An oversupplied oil and gas market, slowing demand, and weak global economic outlook have kept energy prices lower for longer than many had expected. Global oil demand growth continues to be slow, reaching a 4-year low in the third quarter of 2016, although there are some preliminary signs of recovery. The International Energy Agency expects global oil demand growth to be 1.2 million barrels per day this year, with similar growth expected for 2017. Nonetheless, it is uncertain when the global oil market will re-establish a sustainable equilibrium. The outlook for gas is even more muted, with excess supply expected to continue for some time. Wood Mackenzie estimates that the global gas market could be left with 70 million tons in uncontracted supply by 2021. These projections could affect future global energy supply as producers cut spending and curtail project investments. And the IEA estimates that investments in oil and gas have fallen by an unprecedented 25% in 2015. At the same time, the Paris Agreement has given new impetus for the development of greener energy systems as awareness of the need to do more to mitigate greenhouse gas emissions grows. The declining cost of renewables has also encouraged investments in clean energy. According to Bloomberg New Energy Finance's New Energy Outlook report for 2016, renewables will attract $7.8 trillion in investments between 2016 and 2040, compared to $2.1 trillion for fossil fuels. So a significant shift in terms of resource allocation. Advances in technology are also having a discernible impact on energy systems and networks. The increasing deployment of smart energy infrastructure and distributed generation is altering the traditional roles of consumers and grid operators in the way we generate, distribute, and use energy. Consumers are more empowered than ever to generate their own electricity, optimize their energy use, and respond to market conditions. In the face of these new energy realities, policymakers, regulators, and market players alike need to prepare themselves well to ride on the new wave of opportunities while addressing the challenges that lie ahead, so as to build a more sustainable global energy system. The uncertainties in the global oil and gas markets further underscores the need for Singapore as a small, open economy with no indigenous energy resources to enhance the competitiveness and security of our natural gas supply, which is a key energy resource for us. Hence, in June 2014, the Energy Market Authority launched a two-stage competitive request for proposal to appoint up to 2 new importers to supply Singapore with 1 million tons per annum of liquefied natural gas each for up to 3 years, whichever is reached earlier. This will meet demand beyond our initial 3 million tons per annum franchise and further complement other piped sources of natural gas. Today, I am pleased to announce that Pavilion Gas and Shell have been appointed as the term importers for the next tranche of LNG for Singapore. These 2 companies were selected on the basis of the reliability, flexibility, and competitive pricing of their LNG supplies. They have also secured strong support from buyers. Singapore's gas consumers will benefit from the new and improved terms offered by the 2 companies. For example, buyers have been offered shorter-term contracts and alternate price indices, such as the Henry Hub and the SGX's LNG Index Group, or SLING. Beyond this next tranche of LNG imports, which is expected to commence in 2017, EMA also plans to allow third-party spot imports and new piped natural gas imports on a case-by-case basis. This will further augment the diversity of gas supply sources in Singapore and encourage more gas-on-gas competition in the domestic market. In addition to enhanced competition, we want to use technological advances, especially the Internet of Things and data science, to develop a smart energy sector that is resilient, innovative, and sustainable. To this end, Singapore is making a push towards the vision of a smart nation to harness the power of networks and data to improve lives and create economic opportunity. In that regard, we are studying the wider deployment of advanced meters across all our utilities. The Energy Market Authority is partnering the National Water Agency, PUB, and Singapore Power to launch a call for proposal to develop and testbed integrated advanced metering solutions for electricity, gas, and water supply to consumers. It is an opportunity for industry to propose an innovative and integrated solution that can enhance productivity by enabling remote monitoring or reading of utility meters, as well as to improve service delivery by enabling the timely provision of energy and water consumption information to consumers on their mobile devices. This will allow consumers to make informed decisions on their consumption and conservation of utilities. And the results of the testbed will help us assess whether and how we can deploy advanced metering solutions nationwide in tandem with our plans to have full retail contestability in the electricity market by 2018. Another opportunity that's been created by technological advances and smarter energy systems is in demand-side management. It allows consumers to actively manage their energy consumption in response to market conditions, thereby optimizing their electricity bills. The power system also benefits from greater efficiency as electricity demand peaks are smoothened. Hence, EMA will be taking the lead to facilitate demand-side management initiatives. Today, I'm pleased to announce the launch of Project OptiWatt, a pilot program on demand-side management where EMA will work with 16 partners to explore initiatives to optimize energy consumption. These partners collectively straddle the energy value chain, comprising institutes of higher learning, government agencies, private companies, electricity retailers, research institutions, and the electricity grid operator. A memorandum of understanding will be signed today to officially mark the commencement of this partnership. Our institutes of higher learning and government agencies will explore adjusting their consumption patterns without affecting existing operations. For example, electricity retailer Red Dot Power pays participating consumers to voluntarily reduce electricity consumption in certain pre-identified periods. A trial with Nanyang Polytechnic demonstrated that its chillers, which amount to about 7% of the Polytechnic's energy consumption, can be curtailed for half an hour with minimal impact to users within the premises. And to enable such initiatives to be scaled up, EMA will be collaborating with Professor Frank Wallach of Stanford University to measure consumer responsiveness to incentives and to evaluate business models for their sustainability. EMA will also work with companies and electricity retailers on technologies and business models for the interruptible load and demand response programs, which are part of the broader demand-side management initiatives. The electricity grid operator, Singapore Power, will study how demand-side management technologies and initiatives can be incorporated in the grid network planning process to bring benefits to consumers and the power system. We hope that these pilots will demonstrate the benefits of demand-side management and catalyze new business models, technological innovation, and consumer engagement so that such initiatives will be more widely accepted. Even as we keep a close watch on current volatility in the energy market, it is essential that policymakers, regulators, and companies take a long view of the energy landscape. To this end, last October, EMA conducted an industry consultation on initiatives to facilitate future power generation investments. Arising from the feedback, EMA will launch the inaugural edition of the Singapore Energy or Electricity Market Outlook today, which will give, among other things, indicative projections on Singapore's electricity demand. The inaugural publication also includes a special feature on the outlook of solar photovoltaic in Singapore. This will provide greater visibility on factors such as the solar generation profile across a typical day based on historical irradiance data in Singapore. The regular release of the Electricity Market Outlook will provide salient information for industry to form a strategic view and better inform investment decisions as the energy sector in Singapore evolves. And to keep pace with the growing share of solar in Singapore's electricity generation mix, we are taking proactive steps to address the issue of intermittency and to ensure grid stability. Energy storage systems offer one solution, particularly with advances in technology and reductions in cost. EMA and Singapore Power have jointly launched an energy storage testbed for grid-level energy storage solutions, which will help us to establish the standards and guidelines for the deployment of such storage systems. To facilitate wider deployment of energy storage, it is important to ensure that our policy, regulations, and market framework remains current and facilitates new business models put forth by industry. Therefore, EMA will release a consultation paper today to seek views from industry and other stakeholders on the regulation, licensing, and market framework for energy storage. And as we continue to develop initiatives and policies to enhance Singapore's domestic energy market, international energy cooperation is critical in our efforts to learn from best practices and ensure energy security and sustainability. International energy organizations such as the IEA play a central role in facilitating such cooperation. In particular, IEA Executive Director Dr. Fateh Birol, who's here with us, has been active and instrumental in shaping the IEA's drive towards a more inclusive global energy architecture. Singapore supports the IEA's vision to expand its outreach to emerging economies through the Association Initiative, which was launched in 2015 to allow the IEA to engage countries outside of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. To deepen our cooperation in a more structured way, I'm happy to share that the IEA has welcomed Singapore as an IEA association country. Becoming an association country is a natural extension of Singapore's already close collaboration with the IEA. It will allow us to further participate in the global energy dialogue and keep abreast of new technical developments in the energy sector. Singapore and IEA are committed to ensure that our enhanced relationship is underpinned by substantive cooperation for the benefit of the region. For a start, Singapore will partner the IEA on 2 initiatives in that regard. First, we will establish a Singapore IEA regional training hub, which will enable the IEA to use Singapore as a base to build capabilities in the region. In 2017, we will host a regional run of the IEA Energy Efficiency Training Week aimed at policymakers and officials. Second, we will host an annual Singapore IEA Forum at SIEW, which will develop a regular platform to drive future-oriented energy discussions on topics such as new technologies and innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, many of the policy initiatives that Singapore is undertaking to encourage innovative demand-side energy management solutions, build up smart grids, and support energy storage, all of these aim to strengthen our long-term energy competitiveness, security, and sustainability. These solutions will also be relevant for a rapidly urbanizing Asia, which is also the center of gravity for global growth. Singapore can serve as a testbed for companies who wish to develop innovative urban energy solutions that can subsequently be scaled up to serve regional and global demand. We also hope that Singapore can serve as a platform where best practices are shared and learned. And to this end, throughout this week of SIEW events, I encourage all of you to engage in an active exchange of views with other energy professionals and policymakers and industry players present to benefit from each other's experiences and generate solutions to forge a substantive energy future. I want to thank all of you once again for joining us at the Singapore International Energy Week and making it an important forum for discussions on energy issues. And I wish all of you a very productive and interesting week ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister, sir. We now invite you to remain on stage to witness the Memorandum of Understanding between the Energy Market Authority and its partners on Project OptiWatt. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is a pilot project on demand-side management to optimize energy consumption as well as explore opportunities for participation in the energy market. We now invite to join our minister on stage, Chief Executive Energy Market Authority. Please welcome Mr. Ng Wai Chung. A proud moment as we invite our partners on stage, ladies and gentlemen. Institutes of Higher Learning, Institute of Technical Education, Nanyang Polytechnic, Nian Polytechnic, Temasek Polytechnic. Government agencies, Agency for Science, Technology and Research, JTC. Electricity retailers, Diamond Energy Merchants, Red Dot Power, Suraya Energy, Companies and Liquid Singapore, Applied Materials Southeast Asia, LTEC Power. Research institutions, NG Lab Singapore, Energy Research Institute at Nanyang Technological University, and finally, Electricity Grid Operator, SP Power Assets. Let's give all of our partners on stage with the initiative, ladies and gentlemen, a big, rousing round of applause, shall we? Very special moment. We're going to have the photograph taken right here first from the official photographer right here in the center. Thank you, partners. Thank you very much. We now invite our minister and Mr. Ng to remain on stage. And of course, thank you kindly, partners, for being here for the moment. Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause again, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? A very special initiative. At this time, I'd like to invite up on stage Dr. Fateh Birol, Executive Director, International Energy Agency, on stage at this time to mark Singapore's association with IEA. Now, Singapore is joining the IEA as an association country to deepen participation in the global energy dialogue. As an IEA association country, Singapore will partner the IEA on 2 new initiatives. A special moment, ladies and gentlemen. Let's celebrate this with a round of applause as well. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sir and Mr. Ng. Thank you very much. We invite you now to make your way to your seats. And Dr. Birol, center stage, sir, for you to be able to address all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Dr. Fateh Birol. Thank you.
Dear Minister Iswaran, dear Chairman of the EMA, dear colleagues, dear friends, a very good morning to all of you. This announcement today is a very important day for the International Energy Agency. It is my great pleasure and honor to welcome Singapore as an IEA association country. Singapore is the 4th country to join our association after China, Indonesia, and Thailand in November 2015. Association is a key component of our efforts to modernize the IEA. And modernization of the IEA efforts include our very policy to open the doors of the IEA to emerging countries and developing nations. And Asia, ASEAN, is at the heart of it. The importance of Singapore to the global trade, global energy trade, is undisputed. It is a leading oil transit point in the world, a major refining center, and the #1 bunkering hub. It is also Asia's leading oil pricing and trading hub. But moreover, ladies and gentlemen, Singapore government has put in place strong policies to ensure a secure, sustainable, and competitive energy sector. As Mr. Minister mentioned, Singapore and IEA are determined to put in place concrete projects in the context of our new friendship. This will go from having Singapore, a regional training hub, to different programs which can assist the region to realize a sustainable energy future. Finally, Minister Iswaran, dear Singaporean friends, dear colleagues, let me finish my words by saying you that welcome to the family of the International Energy Agency. Thank you very much.
Thank you kindly, Dr. Birol. Thank you, sir. And now, ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed to the next segment of the program, now please be informed that the SIEW opening keynote address is now open on Pigeonhole Live. I've explained to you how you can go about using it already. So we'd like to invite you now to submit your questions via this platform. Now the moderator and speakers will try to address some of these questions during the Q&A session that follows the address. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for that keynote opening address. And delivering this is our Chief Executive Officer and Special Representative of the United Nations Secretary General Sustainable Energy for All. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome up on stage Ms. Rachel Kite.
Thank you very much. Thank you to Minister Iswaran for your very warm welcome to all of us here. Thank you, to the Singaporean authorities and the organizers of this now extremely prestigious event for the invitation to be here. I'm honored to be with you, and I'm looking forward to discussing the challenges ahead with all of you over the next few days. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in just 12 days, on November the 4th, the Paris Agreement on climate change will enter into force. The United Nations Secretary General has called it a new covenant for the future. It heralds an economic transition that must ease us to a mid-century economy that is zero net emissions and which must provide for everyone more equitably than we are able to do so today. This transition must be a just transition. Last year, as an international community, we also agreed a set of universal sustainable development goals. One of these goals, Goal 7, calls for us to secure affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. And that includes the 1.1 billion people worldwide who still have no or limited access to electricity, and the 2.9 billion who still do not have access to clean cooking. While the Asia-Pacific region has made significant progress towards universal energy access, there are still around 455 million people in this region without electricity and 1.9 billion who are still dependent on traditional solid fuels for cooking and heating. This is a growing, dynamic, populous, innovative region, and closing this gap while managing all the other dynamics in this transition must be at close to or at the top of the to-do list. To meet the Sustainable Development Goals in the context of the ambition at the heart of the Paris Agreement, we will need an energy transition to drive that economic transition. And we will need to move through peak coal, through peak carbon, to zero net emissions by the middle of the century. That energy transition will need to bring forth a rapid increase in energy productivity, a new generation of institutions to manage our integrated energy systems, an integrated approach to energy that embraces centralized and decentralized sources, and an ever-increasing share of renewables in that mix. Asia is leading and must continue to lead this global shift. We need a new mental map of how to get from here to there, to the productive, integrated systems that meet everyone's needs. So where do we start? First, we must adopt an energy-efficient first approach. Fatih Birol's been saying this for a while. Many others in this room have said so for a while. Let me bring our voice to the party. Remarkably, flying in the face of all of the evidence, efficiency is still, to a large extent, the energy source ignored. Yet at a time when we have agreed as an international community on the direction of travel for the global economy, it seems especially short-sighted, if not foolish, to not act with determination to drive forward the cheapest, easiest, and fastest way to achieve our development goals and the Paris Agreement. The IEA estimates it can cover about 40% of the abatement in global greenhouse gas emissions that we need, and the new generations of super-efficient appliances and devices that must come forward mean that with a focus on efficiency, we have a chance to bring access to clean, affordable, reliable energy to those who wouldn't have it otherwise for much less watts than in the past. With energy demand rising rapidly in Asia, there's an urgent need to continue to boost energy productivity. Some countries, Japan, the Republic of Korea, India, China, have made impressive strides in recent years. And here we see leadership on the stage again in Singapore. But not everyone is moving at the same pace, and some parts of the region have been slow to recognize the huge opportunities and savings offered by increased energy productivity. Energy intensity in Southeast Asia, for example, improved by only 12% from 1980 to 2011, compared with a 26% improvement worldwide. Compare that with the 44% improvement in energy intensity achieved by India over the same period, and an incredible 74% performance by China. I mention these countries just to show that somebody somewhere is getting things right. This is not an unknown. And the question is, how do we set off a competitive race to the top around productivity? How does this become a political issue in front of the cabinet, in front of the central government leaders in every country? So we can see from economies around the world and in this region where energy conservation has been emphasized in national policy, that a total government approach mixing mandatory standards and targets across all key parts of the economy has reaped dividends. These dividends are in savings from power generation not needed, in cleaner air and water, in industries poised for international competitiveness, in a world of increasing scarcity and where carbon intensity will attract a higher and higher price, a greater and greater risk, and will fail to attract long-term investment. Our partners have found that even the poorest countries can use energy efficiency first to cut the expenditures on fuel, especially in their public sectors, and improve development outcomes at the same time. For businesses increasingly alive to the need to secure long-term access to affordable energy, efficiency is a prudent choice in a volatile world throughout one's supply chain. So if energy efficiency is first, then second, I would advocate that we need to put closing the energy access gap right at the center of our vision for our future energy systems. Our failure to provide reliable, clean, and affordable energy to more than 1 billion people, to millions of businesses, healthcare centers, schools, and colleges, hampers economic growth. And if we focus on closing that gap sooner rather than later, it means we can meet the basic needs and fulfill the rights of millions of Asians, but also unleash their economic potential. With the unprecedented drop in prices for renewable energy, with new business models emerging for distributed generation, complementing smarter grids, closing that energy gap is feasible. If we have it at the center of our minds, we must bring the last mile to the front of the queue. Far-sighted governments are already aiming high. India has set itself the target of reaching 100% of its people with electricity by 2019. Indonesia is aiming for the same result by 2020. China has a goal that by 2020, 40 million households will have adopted clean cook stoves and fuels. We believe that there is still much we can do to spur faster access using policy as the accelerant. And this goes to integration. To close the energy access gap, it's not a question of grid or off-grid, or either or. Centralized grid-connected power, together with decentralized mini-grid or off-grid solutions using renewable energy technologies, offer the fastest, most economic way to reach people in rural areas, isolated locations, and increasingly those that live below the power lines. There are already a number of decentralized models that are working and starting to show results, and it's a fallacy to believe that when a grid arrives, the decentralized systems must die away. In fact, the evidence is that they can complement each other well, increase the resilience of the energy system. Just look at Germany, to the United States, to New Jersey, post-Superstorm Sandy, where we have an integrated system. The off-grid solar industry, for example, has seen $276 million invested in 2015, a 15-fold increase since 2012. As a result, over 27 million people have had their basic energy needs met. This industry has a $3.1 billion market opportunity by 2020 and a potential to reach another 99 million more households. A small start, rapid growth, and investor interest is peaking. Bangladesh has one of the biggest and fastest growing off-grid renewable energy programs in the world, optimizing private sector engagement in developing and financing energy access, despite a less than optimal investment climate and business enabling environment. The state-owned Infrastructure Development Company Limited, IDCOL, has installed around 4 million solar home systems since 2003, working at a rate of more than 70,000 per month. Innovative pay-as-you-go business models offer mobile phone technology that can bring electricity for light and basic appliances such as refrigeration or fans or televisions within the reach of even some of the poorest households. But policy has to send a clear signal and a more level playing field for renewable energy in these markets will allow these innovations to provide reliable energy at greater scale. To transform energy